obviously starting school tomorrow, back into a routine with classes, so guys are jumping back into that. Took Saturday off after Friday night at Michigan State, and then have had 2 days here prepare for Nebraska, which brings a whole different element in terms of how they play, but also the names. Other than number 34, Thor, everybody else is pretty much new on that team. So it's been a lot of fast learning over the last couple days. Team that shoots a lot of threes. I think 40 more than even the second place team in the Big Ten in terms of attempts and makes. So they prevent some defensive challenges in that regard. And looking forward to tomorrow night.
Jeff, go ahead.
Greg, you mentioned a lot of new faces. Cam Mack, their point guard. I know you guys have faced Cowan, Winston. How has Trice done in terms of containing those guys, not letting them dictate the game, and what kind of challenges might Mack present?
Yeah, I mean, Mack, first of all, it's a lot like Cowan in terms of his ability to go from stop to full speed. His burst is really good. Phenomenal assist-to-turnover ratio. I mean, his numbers are through the roof, and he does a terrific job of finding the right guy. It's it's really credit to them and Fred and what he's done of how the pace they've been able to play and not turn the ball over very much. So obviously Mack creates a lot of problems, not only from his ability to score, but how he finds teammates so well. So I think Meach has done a good job. I thought he did a pretty good job on Winston. He goes 3 for 12, 5 turnovers, 4 assists. So Michigan State had other guys step up and make plays and make shots. So it'll be another challenge for not only Trice but other guys that we have on Mac.
Jim?
Greg, you're 18 games in now and 8 games into your kind of the lineup you want. What word or words would you use to describe where you are offensively right now, would you say?
Well, I think with Micah's addition, we're still figuring it's the first time we played them extensively together. There were some good things from it. There were some not so good things from it. So, I think the biggest thing is offensively, we tweak as we migrate through the year and see what strengths and weaknesses either defenses have or what we see evolving with our own players and try to take advantage of what they're maybe doing a little bit better. So, I think from Michigan State, for example, I thought part of it was their defense, part of it's what we relented to in terms of taking quick shots, too many jump shots early. Thought we were better in the second half, but obviously we had dug ourselves a hole. So still, get the ball to high percentage areas, take care of the ball, which we've done a better job of as the years progressed. And I'd like to get to the free throw line more and continue to progress. And, it's really simple. If you take care of the ball and make shots, you're going to be good offensively regardless of what you run or who you have on the floor. It's finding those combinations. And I like the group of 9. I think we've done some good things, and the challenge keeps coming each game to be better.
Go ahead, Brad.
Do you know Fred Hoiberg at all? If so, what your relationship is like?
Yeah, I knew him when he was at Iowa State. Good guy. Obviously, very calm. You can tell he's accustomed to, having to build things and what he did with Iowa State, and obviously his experience with the Bulls and in the NBA. So, I haven't spent a lot of time with him, but time I've been around him, really. He's from Ames, Iowa. How much different from being from Cobb can that be, right? No, Fred's a good guy.
Coach, how valuable is the guards you've seen in the past few games for when you prepare for another good guard, especially for Brad and Dimitri to prepare to?
Yeah, I think the thing that jumps out regarding Mac is not only his ability to make plays and the assists we talk about, but he's surrounded with a little different clientele, so to speak, than what maybe Cowan was, or even Cassius Winston. Plays a little different, I would say more like Cowan in terms of his speed with the ball, but surrounded with so many shooters. And I think that's the thing that you see what he does one-on-one, but he forces a lot of help, and you have to send extra bodies to him, and it's a fine line between how much you help to him, and then he's got such great vision and finds guys all over the floor, backside corners, backside wings. Usually you don't see a lot of guards in college be able to pull a defense one way and find people on the other side of the floor. And you're able to load and migrate with the balls at as it goes from the middle of the floor to a wing. But he's been able to find, bring people with him, find the backside. So you've got to be very good in terms of your ball screen coverage and even your one-on-one, because I'll put him in some ball screens, but he just makes plays too off the bounce. But the experience, I think, against those guys and other guards that we've seen will hopefully help.
And do you have to constantly remind your guys, of the marathon that the season is, even though you're well into it, they got so much left because they go from that stretch of 3 ranked opponents. Now it's home in Nebraska, then Iowa, Purdue, Michigan State. Do you have to remind them at all that, hey guys, we get done with one battle, we got a lot more coming up?
Well, we always operate and I know it's cliche, but we always operate in a one day at a time, one game at a time mentality. We've always done that. And because there's no really, that's all you can control is our 2 days of preparation for Nebraska. We learn from the Michigan State film, and then you file it away and prepare for next. And I think you just, I don't know any other way. I think you try to approach it any other way, you're really going to get yourself in trouble. So I don't even look. I didn't know who we had after. The reason I knew we had Iowa after Purdue is they asked me about the travel plans yesterday. So you told me we had Michigan State. I didn't know who was next. I always thought the previous head coach was lying when he told me I don't know who's next. But now, sitting in the seat, I know exactly. I know the feeling. You operate one day at a time.
Brian, go ahead.
We also thought he was lying.
He wasn't. He wasn't.
I know, right?
I joked with him about it last time I talked to him.
Sure. Defensively, is your team good at the stopping penetration and also getting out to the shooters? You're describing Mac and the shooters he's got. Are you pretty decent at that, do you think?
That's the challenge. I think the two things you get challenged most, and we work on the most, are transition defense and ball screen defense. Because what do you see? What's the prevalent number one thing teams are doing in college? It's ball screens. So you have to find the way that, number one, your personnel defends the best. There's multiple ways to defend, but then what do you do best given your ability and your personnel? So, and I try not to, we basically do one with an adjustment of 2 ways, because I try to make it instinctive defensively. We've always done that we don't have 8 different coverages on a ball screen, because I think then you get 3 guys thinking we're in red and 2 guys thinking we're in white, and nobody's in the right defense, and you get yourself in trouble. So I've tried to make it where the rules are pretty much the same, whether we're hedging, soft hedging, switching, but it becomes instinctive defensively, so you can play faster and play without having to really stop and think about it. And I know there's a lot of ways to do it, but that's what we found over the course of time that allows players to play with a better freedom of mind, and it takes time. And I think we've seen right now with Reaver's experience shows versus what Potter has had in what we do. And so, like I said, when you've got a guard that got some zip with the ball, and then you surround him with shooters, it's you have to pick your poison a little bit, but you have to be able to stop the ball and get to shooters. So you try to minimize how much damage he can do with the ball and how much rotation and creation of help. You try to minimize that so you don't have to help as much and come as far off shooters.
You said the other night that this team has to make threes typically to win. And this might be a game-to-game answer, but when you look at your three-point shooting, are you generally pretty happy with the looks you're getting for the most part, or are those not the shots you want?
For the most part, I thought
Okay.
we took some quick ones at Michigan State. And I look at percentages, and I've caught myself trying not to compare to years past because of the new line, and I've watched other teams. I've checked every day on my phone. That's the first thing I go to is I look at the box scores of similar teams and watch the three-point shooting go through peaks and valleys, and I think everybody's feeling that same thing. As this line maybe is having more of an impact than what we thought it was going to have. But as long as the quality is good, I think you have to use the 3, and Nebraska uses it as much as anybody, in part because of how they're built and their personnel. But I think that's the trend. It's a heck of a weapon when you shoot it well. So as long as the quality is good, I don't get caught up in saying we have to shoot 25 or 30, but I think in specifically with how this team is built, if we can make threes, it helps just with our personnel and how we play. And we've got, everybody pretty much for the most part. Tyler's still developing it, but the rest of the guys all shoot it relatively well. So it's a strength that we need to continue to try to capitalize on.